been the shortest issue. The first one was
It's still
2
3
issues long.
so.
I know.
It's the same thing.
Yeah.
At least with Saga, they go between 6 to 12 issues.
Yeah,
And then,
That's true.
and then they take a
Saga's
break.
at least 6 issues and takes a break, and I
It
get
seems like
that.
they get a whole arc in.
Yeah.
But
right.
I also agree with this. Like, the difference is this: they had it. They have it. They have the idea. They know what they want to do with it. But because of other projects and everything, they don't have the time to get it done. But they're going to come back to it.
Yeah.
I'm a little
Then
more.
you start a project and you have enough where, like Saga does, where you have enough to actually put out a trade to keep the consumer interested. So that way, after
this
it comes
will
back,
be a trade. These 3 issues, I guarantee you, will be a trade because it's 4 to 5 issues worth of content
Yeah, because
in 3 issues. The first 2 issues were oversized.
I guess what he's saying too, what they could have done was cut
They
up
could
the
have
other
broke
ones.
that up into 5 issues and spread it out,
It would
but
have
they
been coming
didn't.
out until November then, or
But it is a risk, and I hope it works.
That's
Yeah, I mean,
I
the
really
art is
enjoyed
beautiful.
the book. The artwork is amazing.
Yeah, it is.
who's the artist again?
Ryan Bodenheim.
Awesome.
Yeah. Dying of the Dead 3. I'm sure it'll be out in trade soon.
Well, my first book is going to be Daredevil number 18. Now, originally, Strike Master was going to review this, and he did want to in his message, he essentially said that he loved this run. Because this is the end
This is the end.
of the Mark Wade, of the Mark Wade, Chris Sabney run. Matthew Wilson, 2 different colors. It's been a good one, guys.
It's been amazing.
And so good. Get the trade, please.
Yeah, they really are.
It's so good.
For some reason, Daredevil isn't a character that I read.
I wasn't prior to this either, and I got totally hooked.
Fan. Big fan. Me too.
Yes.
It's not immune. So what happens here is, in the last few issues, Daredevil's identity, he outed himself as Matt Murdock. He told everybody, and that was all his clients. Someone had been secretly filming all his clients while they were talking to him at their office, so that was made public. So they're all mad. His life is essentially in tattered ruins, and now Fisk is trying to make it even worse. He went to Fisk to hopefully to solve the problem, and instead Fisk kind of threw it at his face and wanted him to work for him. So he gave him this ultimatum where he had his Wilson Fisk, the Kingpin, had Foggy Nelson. He also had Kirsten McDuffie, who was currently Matt's girlfriend, and one other person who I honestly can't remember.
Julia Carpenter.
Julia Carpenter. Thank you very much.
Spider-Woman 2.
Spider-Woman 2 is she one?
Yes.
Yes, she knows. That's right. She needs to be essentially on the glasses she's wearing. Yeah. And there is this assassin named Akara who dresses very much like the original Daredevil. Like, essentially, almost looks exactly like the original Daredevil.
And he's from an earlier story arc in Mark Wade's.
Where he beat the shit out of Daredevil.
Yes, he did.
So what happened was the Shroud, that he was supposed to fight Akara. If he didn't die, Fisk was going to kill either Foggy or Kirsten. So what he did was the Shroud, during at the end of the other issue, it seemed like Matt had figured out a solution, and then the Shroud, who was another villain / hero, seems like a great character, killed Akira, so it kind of took that option away from him. So what he did, Matt Murdock put on Akira's outfit, went back to Fisk, and is proclaiming that Murdock and Daredevil were dead. And because the costume looks so similar, they have a similar build, Fisk falls for it first.
Yeah.
So in this issue, he's able to get this close to Fisk without his friends getting murdered. And shortly, just a few moments though, Matt starts talking about Foggy, about how weak he is, pathetic, and it gets him so mad because this is Matt talking like he killed him, about how Matt begged him again. He gets Foggy so mad that he gets up and knocks one of the bodyguards over. And Matt creates a version, and then Akira / Matt throws like this billiard glove that has a well, I guess it's Akira's weapon. It's not really, but it has like that knife up to it.
Yeah.
Then Fisk knows that it's Matt Murdock, and this fight gets pretty intense. I mean, there's a lot of. I mean, if you like superhero stuff, like this comic, like the fights are pretty graphic. Like, especially I know I use the word a lot. Like, Sammy's art is kind of simple, cartoony, but like it's kind of detailed at the same time.
Yeah.
It's like with scenes like this, it really shows like how great of an artist he is, and like how the lettering too. Like I didn't mention this. The lettering is by DC's Joe Carmack, whoever that is. Like all the onomatopoeia, which Chris would like if he was here. All the cack and fan.
Yeah.
Fisk is like beating the crap out of Murdoch. What we find out is that Matt, this is kind of another diversion because Matt had the Shroud release a bunch of videos of Fisk, essentially just doing what happened to Matt to out him as the Kingpin.
Yep.
So now, the authorities come right to.
How many times is the Kingpin going to be outed?
It's happened before.
Yeah.
It has, I guess.
Yeah.
Do they retcon that?
Well, he died. I was reading Daryl for years, and I remember he died and was working, I think, in South America, like as a crime lawyer there.
Yeah.
And then he came back. I don't even remember how they did that. But I think it had something with Shadowlands, and I stopped reading it.
At that point, I was not reading either.
Anyway, we find like the authorities know where he is. They're coming after him. But, that something's up though, and he's gonna come back when he's free because he says like you should have signed reports and that. Essentially saying like when he's out of jail, he's gonna keep him. And then they tie. What's nice about this too is like Mark Waid goes like they tie kind of almost everything up. Like the Shroud had killed Akira, and he did some other things. I think he's unbalanced, so they actually show him bringing Spider-Woman to fool him, give him a kiss, and knock him out and arrest him. So like everything like that is tied up.
She poisoned her lips or
like
whatever.
poison ivy.
Yeah.
And then it ends with Matt having to make a press conference about all this, just try to move forward with their business. And there's a great scene too where Foggy's eating this horrible food, which they've talked about in previous issues. It's kind of a running joke in the series about how he eats.
He always eats unhealthy.
Like,
and then he turned over a new leaf because of the chemotherapy and the cancer, and now he's back. He's like in full remission, so he wants his food back.
And one thing I should point out is, Matt had faked Foggy's death, and that was brought to light too. So he has to talk about that at this conference. And there's this great moment where both Foggy and Kirsten, tell him that he has no fear. And he kind of gets back at them, like, that was the last thing I had was like my identity. I gave it to the public so people wouldn't be able to fight. They wouldn't have that on me. I kind of struck first, but now that that's out and you're in danger, there's no real reason for it. He's like, what am I supposed to do? There's nothing good about the situation. And they just they let him know that they're there for him, that he has a strong family / friendship with them, and that they'll move forward with him. And Foggy gives him a hug.
And then I wept.
Yeah.
I did. I lost it.
It was great. And he says, the last line's, I'm not going to say
Oh, that splash.
There's this great two-page splash where he says, I may not have eyes, but the love of God. Yeah, and he's jumping off the rooftop. Yeah, I mean, yes, he's not. But I love that. I like one thing that, like, in my reviews, and if you don't know, I review books at onebookbook.com every week.
And then you post them on Twitter.
I do. I post them on Twitter, and you can retweet them. Thank you. Or that is you, right? That's not Spencer. I never know who it is. All right.
Yes, that is me.
It's the mystery tweeter.
Because at one time I thought Spencer did have access to it. No, that's all errors. Okay. It doesn't matter. What I was going to say was that they really.
What? You said something?
So what I was trying to say was this is a character traditionally, at least since Frank Miller was on the character, and especially Bendis, that writers really beat the crap out of, break him down.
Yeah.
Mark Waid had really built him up, and I thought at the end that he was doing he was breaking him down, and while he kind of did here by revealing his identity and everything, he gave him a really strong supporting cast, stronger than ever. So he's leaving in good hands for Charles. So I don't know what direction he has with Gambit. I'm not sure why that's happening.
It's not Gambit.
Oh, it's not Gambit? Okay, sorry, it looked like it.
Yeah.
But, this ended really, this is a very strong end.
Oh, so he's not treating Gambit?
Yeah, it's not.
Now, Charles sold, he basically refuted that on the web nets. Yeah, it looks like him, but it's not him. And he's moving back to New York, which I'm not thrilled about, and it looks like it's taking a darker turn, which I'm not thrilled about. But this run was, for all the reasons that you just said, I never liked Daredevil because he was such a dark character.
Yeah.
But Mark Waid came along and just turned it completely around.
He used the best aspects of both worlds. He took Silver Age stuff that had been used in years and worked it into like the modern day.
Yeah.
Made him more of a, like, he's happy, but he's not happy to the point where it's like crazy.
Right.
And
And he downplayed the religious symbolism, which is another reason I could never get into the book.
Frank Miller used that a lot, and Kevin Smith really played on that a lot,
Yes.
which I liked, but I can see why that would be.
Yeah.
But yeah, and besides Chris Samney, there were great artists on this run. There were Marcos Martin, I was trying to mention. Paulo Rivera was actually
Paulo Rivera was wonderful, yeah.
He was the original. I think he was on the first either 6 or 12. But I know you read it in trade. I mean, if they keep this in print, there's definitely a few editions of it. It's a great series.
I think it's all collected in, 8 volumes?
Yeah, and I think
7 or 8 volumes.
you have to be careful where you start, because I believe when they rebooted it, they did another volume 1.
Oh.
So make sure you get volume 1 of the first series, where I think there's a bunch of spirals on it, but that's the one. Gotcha. It's a great series, though. And I'm interested to see what Charles Soule had, but he's got big shoes to fill.
Yes, he does. Yes, he does. Alright, I'm going to do Midnighter, number 4. Great book.
I didn't read this one yet.
Very good book.
I like the cover though.
So I don't keep interrupting you. I just want to point, because you're going to talk about it in Omega Man 4. You should. I might have to vote whoever does the colors in Midnighter. Jesus Christ, Midnighter as one of the best colorists.
Yeah.
Because I think he does Omega Man too.
The colorist is Romulo Fajardo Jr. Fajardo. We're in Russia. This is issue number 4, and it's From Russia with Grace, which is a play on From Russia with Love, James Bond. Cover's gorgeous. This is a guest artist. This is, I don't think, the artist that drew the previous 3 issues.
Yeah, what I like though is because they keep the colorists, like, it kind of looks very similar.
It does. It really does. Yeah. And we are if you've seen the movie Hostel, the premise is that super rich people.
No one has not seen that movie.
I know, right? Super rich people can pay to go and kill people. And that's essentially what's happening here. We're over in Moscow, and you have this taxi full of three dudes who are drunk, and they're bros, and they're going to this like dumpy building, and they go inside, and it's the Inn of Guire Grando, and they basically pay money, and they go inside, and there is this poor little dude who looks like a vampire, like he has fangs and white skin, garlic clothes around his neck, and they basically stake him with a wooden stake, and it goes splurch, and he explodes.
Yeah, it's pretty gross.
And they catch it all on film. And they're talking about how they're heroes. Yeah, right, exactly. So now they're going to be like big heroes with their girlfriends and their wives because, you know, they killed the vampire.
Their dicks are going to be sucked off with them.
Oh, yes. That's how hot they are now. Then we have Dick and we have Midnighter, and they're in their civilian guises. And
Midnighter's hair, by the way. I don't know.
It's a little weird. I don't know if I like it.
He looks very relaxed.
Yeah, it's shaved on the sides, but like thick on the top. It's kind of like a high and tight sort of thing. And there's this issue. The best part about this issue for me is the constant dialogue and interplay between Dick and Midnighter. Sometimes it's quite sexual. But he abducted Dick to come over there to Russia and help him with this case.
He didn't ask him. He just fucking kidnapped him.
He just basically kidnapped him. And they're talking to this Russian guy who's basically a friend of Midnighter's, and he's explaining to them that essentially that this is God garden technology that has been stolen.
Yeah.
And that is what is making this hostile place.
That happened in issue 1, right?
Yeah. I'm beginning to get the impression that this whole series is going to be dealing with the fallout of that technology.
And they're doing it. Orlando's doing it smart, like, because the issues kind of stand alone, but they tie all together with that.
With the overarching, so that you know that eventually it's going to lead back to the big bad.
Exactly.
So he coerces Dick, and then there's a very homoerotic scene where the 3 guys that basically just killed the vampire are hanging out in this hothouse, sauna. And the weird part is they take branches of a tree and they whack themselves in the back with this sauna. So in one of the hottest comic panels I've seen in years, Dick and Midnighter come in wearing nothing but little towels around them, and
that song from what was that movie where Judge Reinhold gets cut jerking off? What's that? Something like that. No one knows what I'm talking about?
Oh, Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
Yeah, they play that when what's your face is taking a That's what's playing.
And gotcha, your soundtrack. And Midnighter says, so, you get naked and beat each other with a branch for health? And then he says, how does mine measure up, boys? And of course he's referring to this branch. He's holding the branch behind his back, but of course, it's the double entendre, so to speak. And they end up getting in this knockdown, drag-out brawl with these dudes in this sauna. And what's funny is this guy who's totally unrelated to anything is sitting in the corner reading a newspaper, and he basically watches the whole thing and never even bothers to stand up or move or get involved in any way.
Smart.
Yeah.
They want to get beat up.
But there's a lot of, like he says, ready to receive a new hole, you goat-fondling jackass. And then, what was the other thing that killed me? Oh.
My abdominally gifted friend.
He calls Dick his abdominally gifted friend, and then he's holding his head over the sauna rocks, and he says, Midnighter says to the bad guy, I want to see how many sauna rocks you can take internally.
Yeah.
Speak helpfully now, if that doesn't interest you. And then Dick says to him on the way out, he's like, don't you already know how many? So, like, there's a lot of sexual innuendo going on here, and I'm surprised that Orlando can kind of get away with a lot of it.
Because it's Teen Plus, it's not whatever they're mixed up with.
Right. But then again, I guess maybe a lot of stuff goes over people's heads.
Sure, I guess if it's innuendo, it's not direct. You can get away with it.
Right.
Or maybe teens already know about this shit.
That's true too. This is a different world. I gotta keep remembering I'm 45 and this is a different world that these kids live in nowadays.
Yeah, they can read about this, but if a character fucking smokes in a book, people are like,
yeah, God forbid. Right, exactly. So they basically end up, these dudes in the sauna, they basically end up giving away the location of this hostel.
Yeah.
And, they go there and they find this vampire who it turns out is not really a vampire. He's just a dude who has basically been genetically altered by the God Garden technology.
Yeah, he has similar powers, but...
Yeah, he's similar to a vampire, exactly. So they go inside, and what I love, there's this scene where there's this old Russian woman wearing a babushka, and she's working the front desk, and she tries to be, like, all hard-ass, but, like, Midnighter immediately, like, psychoprotes her, and he's like, I won't insult your intelligence. He's like, your husband died, 20 years ago? You raised a family on your own. You worked full-time. You survived. This is your home. Someone made it into something bad. You refused to leave. We're here to clean out the rats. So she's working there just as a way to survive, because this is the building that she raised her family in. And
she's no loyalty.
No loyalty. And Midnighter's like, listen, you let us go in there and kick some ass, and we're going to take care of you. She's like, go, whatever. And so they go in, and they get in this battle, and they're kicking ass, and let's see what else helps
When
here.
they kick in the door, that's a pretty nice panel there.
Yes.
It's a strange form of recreation you have to do.
Yeah, I mean, fantastic. Just the dialogue, especially between Dick and Midnighter, back and forth, just the interplay. And then Midnighter ends up getting abducted by this, like, sort of this faux vampire.
Yeah, I guess he can even phase through things.
He can phase, he can turn into other animals. It's kind of strange. He throws Midnighter. Midnighter gets stuck on, like, a hook, like a meat hook, but he has these things on his costume that allows him to, like, basically break the metal, and he frees himself from that. And he basically, like, knees the guy in the head and, like, makes his head explode, and cockroaches and rats come flying out of his head. And Midnighter just kind of laughs. He's like, cool, old school. He's like, oh, the vermin thing, old school. Because like in the original Dracula movie, he could turn into like rats and shit. So Midnighter, and the sound effects, splitch, splurch, squitch, as he's like literally like grabbing the rats and like...
should have been their Halloween issue.
I know, it should have. It really should have. It was very close. And then the thing is coming up behind him and he doesn't realize it, and Dick comes in and says, Midnighter, right behind you. And he ends up basically cutting off the vampire's head with the blades that are on the side of his costume. And you can tell Dick doesn't approve because Dick doesn't believe in killing, and Midnighter looks at him and he goes, what? I was out of stakes. Like, that's a perfectly plausible explanation for what he just did.
Which there was a lie, because you see him pulling out of stakes.
Yeah, he was totally lying. And then the reason you find out that the main reason that Midnighter wanted Dick to come along with him is because he wanted him to get to the bottom of the technology that was used and to kind of like reverse engineer it. But unfortunately, when they try to save the people that have been turned into vampires, it backfires. It was like a booby trap.
Yeah, and their bodies just disintegrate.
Yeah.
It's so sad.
Their bodies like automatically disintegrate. So then Dick decides he's interested enough now in this situation to kind of stick around and help Midnighter out. And Midnighter puts his hand on his shoulder and he says, I liked you as gleeful captive, but I can learn to be into sullen participant, because that's kind of like how Dick's attitude has now shifted. So they have another drink, and then you find out at the end that this dude, this Alexander Alexandrovich, what he really wants to do is he wants to pirate the technology that created Midnighter. Like his mental computer that allows him to like assess any situation and see any possible battle outcome.
We still don't know his origin.
No, we really don't.
It seems like they're hinting toward things here, and like they might reveal more because like he has a file that has his whole origin, kind of like Bloodshot,
Which is one of the things that was stolen. And
Yes,
yes,
right.
very much like Bloodshot. Only Bloodshot has his, and he's afraid to read it.
Yes.
Big pussy. Talking to you.
There's a you can't see it. Bloodshot's in the ceiling. So
Beautiful.
Brian wasn't talking to God.
No, you're talking to Bloodshot up there.
Brian doesn't believe.
No. So yes, that was Midnighter number
Would you like to
4.
be part of our church?
Love this book. I'm praying that in light of recent news, it is not one of the ones that is canceled.
See, ironically, you could pray in our church.
I believe in God, but I'm gonna pray.
Right, it's not my style. It's not my style. I wouldn't want to be a member of any church that would have me as a member.
We accept all.
What's your church, Luke?
Yeah, what's
Was
your
that a wacky one? Did you get talking to that weird one with a bullshit flyer on here?
No, but he's gonna create one like John Oliver.
Oh, okay.
Or like that comic guy that Bob's coming. Well, he didn't kill him. What's your review?
Bring it down.
People in cold stuff, man. That's not
Alright, so for my next book, I'll be talking about
I'm just who cares?
Lobo, number 10, part of the Sinestro Rising storyline. Cullen Bunn! Yay, shocker. I like something Cullen Bunn did.
I think it's getting to a point where because Columbine likes so much, we almost review something like that.
Yeah, well, it doesn't help that I read like 13 of all the I read almost all the stuff he does.
And the ones that you don't strike Master does, so everything is covered.
I read
It's-
Aquaman, which I guess is
I stopped reading Aquaman.
I don't like the art.
It's exactly what I know.
Trevor McCarthy ad.
It's Cullen Bunn and Frank Barbieri.
Oh, wow.
Oh, okay.
And penciled by Robson Roca. 3 inkers. That's a little weird. Blonde on the colors. So, yeah.
Just blonde.
Just blonde. 3 people the trees.
Uh-huh.
There's a lot of detail in this book. I'm sure inking took a very, very long time.
Uh-huh.
So we started on the planet Nock, home of the Indigo Lanterns. It's exactly what it says.
And okay. Or
And okay. And okay. Knock. Who's there? The Indigos.
Keep going.
All right. So basically, it's Lobo is narrating. He's talking about how the Indigo Lanterns came to be, and that it was Avon Sur that worked with one of the natives of this planet, where there were all these like criminals on the planet, and introduced them to the Indigo Light and turned them into the Indigo Core. But the Indigo Core actually saps you of all your emotions, and you just turn into these like kind of, I don't want to say mindless, but kind of zombies. It's just
Tiger Wheels
just
up.
like it just turns them into soldiers. Like it's just they're mindless. I don't want to say mindless, but they
Like drones.
yeah, they're
Yeah.
drones.
Exactly.
They just do what they're told. So Indigo One, the leader of the Indigos, is sitting there meditating, and she is attacked by one of her other one of the other Indigos.
Almost had more than that. Like Renfield's a cool.
And
Yeah, that's what I'm referring to.
and the thing with the Indigos is they don't talk outside of saying knock.
Oh, wow.
Like that's all they say, which is why I call the Indigo Lanterns the worst knock joke ever. But so she's getting attacked, and the one that's attacking her is missing his right hand, which is the ring hand. So he's missing his ring hand, and right before he is about to strike like a killing blow on her, Lobo comes in and kills him. And like Indigo looks at him, and he's making like how he's saying Sinestro sent me to take out the lanterns across the universe, paying top dollar. But these lanterns, left to their own devices, some may kill each other. So Indigo basically looks at him like, Doc? And he's like, I know what that means, but trust me, I'm the opposite. And so they start fighting, and he's like, these look familiar, and he drops, like, empties his bag, and it's all, like, all these ring hands from Indigo lanterns.
Oh.
And so they start fighting, and she activates a bunch of Indigo rings, and it's trying to get on Lobo's finger to turn him into an Indigo, and one actually gets on his finger, and he's like, no, I can feel this thing burning away my emotions, trying to make me like them. He's like, I'm nothing like them, and he just bites off the finger with the ring on it. He's like, didn't expect that, did you?
Jeez.
He's like, I can afford to lose a finger or two, but how about you, Indigo One? What are you? And right when he's almost modeling, she like teleports out of there, and he's like, God damn it! All right, well, she won't get far. That was pretty fun. This job's turned out to be more interesting than I thought it would be. Then we go back to he's going to check in with Sinestro, and in the background, it's Indigo One, Hal, and Atrocitus are like the pictures that are like they're discussing the three of them, and what the heck's her name?
Oh, the one from the fourth game?
Yeah, the female Kara or Kadra. Kadra is standing there. Basically, I guess it's like Lobo's agent,
Oh,
because like they're talking about he's talking about business. They're talking about business and things like that. And like he throws down a bunch of the Indigo lanterns, and Sinestro like, you've done well. Does one of these belong to Indigo One? Like, she got away. Like, but don't worry, a Lobo never leaves a job unfinished. And one of the yellow lanterns makes like a wisecrack, like sounds like a coward who, and Sinestro just shoots her a look, and he's like, I gotta go. She's like, I just remembered, I'm needed elsewhere. I gotta go. So we get nice back and forth. Where apparently Sinestro really, really hates the Indigo lanterns, and Kadra loses that. He's like, oh, don't remember. You need a Lobo to take them out. And he's like, I don't need a Lobo. I could do it myself. I just don't have the time right now. It's like I could if other matters occupy my attention. And he actually starts praising Indigo. He's like, yeah, you're an excellent soldier. This regime needs more like you. He's like, I don't need your praise. Just tell me who's next. So it's like, fine, we'll upload the targets. And who does he send them after? The Red Lanterns. And there is Bleez and Ragnarok are fleeing from Lobo and his ship. And Lobo actually says he's struggling to keep up. He's like, I won't be able to keep up. It's time to get serious. Time to unload everything. And Ragnarok's like, I'm gonna just, or Rancor. I keep freaking that. Rancor is just like, all right, I'm gonna take him out. And he just faced me like a man, and Lobo ejects out of his ship and just stabs Rancor right through the chest. And he's like, is that all you got? He's like, I can sense it. I can sense the rage, in you. He's like, you're quick, but not quick enough. He's like, you would make an excellent Red Lantern. And he's like, nah, he's like, I don't need that. He's like, the ring gives us purpose. No, I'm just saying you shouldn't let it blind you. And he like pushes a button on like a comm, and his ship comes and just impales Rancor.
Shit.
Right? And he's like, no, you deceived me. He's like, combat's all about position. You let your rage leaves you wide open. Consider it a teachable moment. Well, if you would actually live past this point. He's like, not that you're gonna live long enough to learn from it. So he just flies up, takes the ring off Rancor's hand, and during this, Bleez gets away, flies down onto the planet, and basically is talking to someone like, we've lost Rancor, to a Zarnarian hunter. He's like, and then someone's like, this will not stand. The Red Lanterns do not yield, and it's Atrocitus and Dexter. Hey, Dexter, I love one of my favorite lanterns. No, but
Did they come in here?
I I have 2 or 3 different deck star figures. Like all the ones they made. He's like, we waited in the shadows as the Rage Mother perfected our rings, but no longer. We will take the hunter's head. So, yay! The Red Lanterns are entering the fray.
So now, does that continue in this book, or does it continue in
I have a feeling it's going to continue in Sinestro. It's crossing over between Lobo and Sinestro, so I think it's going to just go back and forth.
It's weird that they didn't number them on the cover.
Oh, it's just Sinestro, just part of the storyline.
I know, but sometimes they have that.
Yeah, but then, what if one accidentally comes out? Or,
Yes, you never know.
In Return of the Jedi, when Luke goes in the beginning to barter for Han,
Yeah.
and he gets dropped into that pit, and
The
he fights-
Rancor.
that is also called the Rancor. Okay.
Yeah.
I knew that word from somewhere.
So that's part of
When you say he gets dropped into the pit,
Yeah.
you're referring where Jabba's palace.
Not the Sarlacc pit.
Right.
The actual.
Yeah.
This is when he goes in the beginning.
The fighting.
I would take it to Jabba now.
Yeah.
Bib
Ooh,
Fortuna.
Jabba no Maga.
Bib Fortuna.
Bib Fortuna.
He's a Twi'lek, wasn't he?
What's that?
Twi'lek.
Oh yeah, they had the.
Yeah, they're called Twi'leks. That's right.
Who else? I don't remember seeing that pictures of them.
Actually,
The
the
dancing girl?
dancer.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
right,
right.
Right in
and-
that same scene.
In the expanded universe, there were several female Twilight Jedi.
There were also
Oh, yeah,
there were
right, 'cause
also
there's,
there were also Twi'lek pilots in the Rosewater.
Because he looks kind of different. Like the dancer is kind of.
No,
Different
the dancer
colors.
looked the
So
same.
that's I guess.
Which he had the head.
I guess because his is wrapped around.
Do you remember what the creature's name was? His little companion?
He already said it.
Just Salacious
There's a
Crumb.
band called Salacious Crumb. I want to buy their album just because they name Salacious Crumb.
All right. Speaking of band, you remember what the band was?
Backstreet Boy band.
Damn. There's no getting past
He's one of
Kyle.
the best characters, and he's a little below.
Lead singer Size
Size
Noodles.
Noodles. That was the blue elephant, right?
Yeah, Backstreet Boy was the blue elephant.
Did you guys like the song in the remake? When they redid the song with Jock Scott?
I don't really care what the other.
When they ended up with 2 backup singers.
Yeah.
That
It's my next and last review of the night. Alright, well, never mind. Right. Your turn. Imperium number
Great book.
But Divinity's on the cover.
It's my favorite book.
one.
But this
It
Divinity book.
kind of is.
It is my favorite monthly comic.
Wow. Number 8, Joshua Dice said it was his favorite monthly comic. I can see dialogue is in there, like it lets you know that that's mad. But you haven't seen him.
Laying in bed in this room, this tiny little room. It kind of like reminds me of like Das Boot, or a movie that would take place in a submarine. You're in very like cramped quarters. And I'm not a huge fan of the art. It's a guest artist this issue, but it's still very good for what
Same
they
colors?
need. Probably the same colors that I
No,
do
just
now.
keep going. I don't
Yeah.
know.
But anyway, he's lying in bed next to Callista, and they have her, like I said, planted in there, and she's pretending to be a prisoner of theirs as well. And he's telling her this whole story about how he was the only Green Lantern who became a Green Lantern by choice, or by what is the word I'm looking for? By accident. In other words, he was not chosen by the Corps. He was not chosen by the Ring. He just happened to find a ring in an alleyway. So the point of him going into all of this is he's describing to her how he actually does have fear, and that this whole myth about how the Green Lanterns basically have to be fearless is a bunch of bullshit, because he has a lot of fear, and he's basically had to overcome it. You know what I mean? To be a Green Lantern, and
Isn't that almost a bigger like a bigger feat? You know? Like,
exactly, to overcome your fears. And so, essentially, and then he talks a lot about his girlfriend. Now, I don't know what happened to his girlfriend post New 52. Pre New 52, she was killed by Major Force. He
Yeah.
stuffed her into a refrigerator, and that's kind of how Gail Simone became famous, because she started that column about women being put in refrigerators. So in the New 52, he talks about her dying. He doesn't really explain how she died, and he just talks about fate and the flip of a coin, and how you know, if one side of the coin had come up, he would have had a happy life with her, and he would have been an artist, and he would have woken up every morning and he would have drawn his dreams to make his dreams his own. But unfortunately, the other side of the coin toss came up, and he found the ring, and he became a Green Lantern, and he became a warrior. His girlfriend got killed, yada yada. So they're going on and on and on and on about that, and here he is holding her dead body. And it's very moving and poignant. And he's talking about how he couldn't save her. And now, like, his greatest fear is he's lost the ring, he's powerless, he's become a captive of the Omega Man, and that this fear that he can't save everybody is just basically crippling him.
It's a great fear to have, though. He wants to save everybody.
He wants to save everybody, right? He explains how he got into this because the Vegan system has an agreement with the Green Lantern Corps. None of the Green Lanterns are allowed to go there. So he says, all right, what if I give up my ring? Can I come in as a diplomat and try to work out a peace agreement between the Citadel and the Omega Men, which are like basically the two warring parties in the Vegan system? They agree. He takes off his ring. He shows up. They try to have like a diplomatic entente, whatever you want to call it. And essentially, Brute, who's one of the Omega Men, ends up basically bashing Kyle in the face. They take him captive. They never give him the ring back. And when he wakes up, he has this bomb planted in his neck. So basically, he's basically 100% their captive now. He has no control. Then Callista, she basically tells him that she thinks that he's very brave and that she appreciates what he tried to do. And then she goes into her horrible childhood. Oh, meanwhile, it pulls back and it shows Primus and it shows Tigor, who are two of the Omega Men. And that's when it reveals to you, the reader, that she is one of, well, actually we found out last issue that she's one of them. But what it shows you is that they're watching from like a camera. They're watching what's happening in this room.
TV.
Thank you. And then it's very hard for Primus to watch Callista do this because she's more or less coming on to Kyle, and she is his woman. So it's hard for him to like watch what's going on. So anyway, she goes into her history, and she explains how her planet was conquered by the Citadel, and they were brought to the Vegan system, and they had to reoccupy this new planet, and that in order to pacify the Citadel, they had to basically kill the native inhabitants of that planet. And that every morning from the time she was like 8 years old, from the time they revealed to her that she was a princess and that she was going to eventually become the ruler of the planet, she had to basically train in her swordsmanship and kill like 5 or 6 of these innocent inhabitants of this planet. Pretty brutal shit. Pretty brutal shit. So again, and I'm going to skip a lot too, because what it does is it goes into every single one of the 7 or 8 worlds that are in the Vegan system, and it explains the horrible things that they've had to do on those planets to basically make peace with the Citadel.
Just a side question: are these like I don't recognize the Vegan system? Like, do these exist in pre-existing like DC stuff? Like,
Absolutely.
Is
The original Omega Men had to do with the Vegan system and the Citadel. Yeah. Now whether they appeared prior to this in the New 52, that I don't know, because I didn't read a lot of the space books.
Does that ever come back in like, the region of the Vegan system?
I believe it does, yes. Yes, from time to time. So they go through all 7 or 8 worlds, and they talk about, you know, the horrible things that are happening there. And in the end, Kyle goes over to her bed, and puts his big strapping arm around her, and of course, like, he's wearing next to nothing, and she's wearing next to nothing. And look at his, like, you know, his bulging arms, and he embraces her. And he's like, I don't hate you for what you had to do. You know, you did what you did to survive. And she's like, well, I respect you because, you know, you gave up the ring and you came here to try and broker a peace for my people, yada, yada. So at the end, they refer to Kyle as the bomb. And so, in other words, they're saying that they're turning Kyle into their bomb, meaning they're turning him over to basically what the Omega Men believe in and what the Omega Men are fighting for. So I think where this series might go is that Kyle is going to get the ring back and he's going to become one of the Omega Men. And he's going to fight against the Citadel to free the Vegan system. Because really, where this whole thing is going, they want you to think that the Omega Men are bad. Right. The Omega Men are good.
Yeah, the first issue makes them seem like criminals.
Right.
Until the end.
Then you come to find out that the Citadel is terrible, right, and they're basically fighting to liberate the people of the Vegan system.
Now, I've read a lot of them, I don't know, are they, or the new can obviously if you're Green Lantern, you can defend your sector and all
Yeah.
that stuff. But if he's using a ring in an area where he's not supposed to, couldn't he get a ring strip?
I would think so.
Well, no, because the Lanterns can help out each other. Or by that logic, Sinestro would have never been able to use his Green Lantern on Earth.
But I think he's saying because it's
No, but he said
specifically
they had a
sector where
deal.
nobody's allowed.
Yeah, like no Green Lantern is supposed to go in there, and if he
Right. Almost like in Star Trek, how the Federation's not allowed to go into
But he was if he went, he had approval to go in there as a diplomat.
as a diplomat without his ring. As
So
a, as a
if he's doing, I'm saying, like if he's doing it then as like a defense type thing,
that's what it's not going. Like if he joins their team, that's not going to be defense. At that point, it's his own
then
choice.
he probably could.
lose his ring.
There probably could be some sort of ramification.
Can they remotely cut off power to a ring?
That's also that.
Let's not say that because then we're going to have people like, well, it's what they're like.
Right, exactly.
Well, it's not that there are no more, but they're scattered.
They
Just
just-
a lot of them are gone. Like,
Yeah.
That's why you have the Lost Army.
That's why
they're in
Sinister
some
made
place
his
they have
daughter
no
a-
idea where they are.
That's why
Yeah.
Sinister made his daughter a
Yellow Lantern.
Ceramic Natu. But yeah, this book really did turn out to be a sleeper hit for me. I love it. I look forward to it every month. Was not thrilled with the fill-in artist this issue, but that notwithstanding, very good book.
And Tom King was the I don't know.
Yes, I'm sorry, I did not. Tom King is the writer. Toby Cypress, who's not a bad artist.
No,
I just don't
not
like him
bad.
for the Omega Man. Yeah. I forget the name of the previous artist who did the first 3 issues, but he was wonderful.
Yes, I agree with that. Well, I only saw the first issue, but yeah. And the first issue was good.
Look at me, I did 2 DC books in a row.
Yes.
So it doesn't happen too often.
Yeah, well, it was a good week for DC.
Yeah, it was.
Good book.
I read Batman. It was good, but that's a good book. You don't have to pick it up. It's fun.
We did almost all DC books tonight.
No.
Almost. So.
4 out of 6.
That's more than half. So.
I did 2.
There was no Batman.
To be fair, though,
Batman didn't come out.
to be fair, though, I don't think anybody actually mentioned a DC book for previous.
No.
That's because that's a
No.
given. We're getting.
But I
DC
didn't mention a Marvel either, so I feel that kind of.
I did.
Did I? I don't think I did. Mine was all wrestling shit.
Mine was all indie shit.
I did Carnage.
Carnage shit.
Oh, and we had Star Wars, which is not a Marvel, but like,
Lots of that.
I was gonna mention the Batman Journal. Oh,
And Batman Europa. We mentioned, I did.
yeah, your robot's fine with me. It's crazy.
Is that the Jim Lee?
It's the Jim Lee.
But be careful. He only draws the first issue.
what?
Yeah. It's a different artist every issue.
But he's writing it?
No.
Oh, I thought it was
I think Brian Azzarello.
Nice.
I think Brian Azzarello's writing it.
Mm.
Yeah, it's a different artist every
Hey,
issue. I
you
almost
might
fell
be
into
on
that trap as
time
well. Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
We'll complain.
You just made me
So right. You're so right. We'll bitch either way.
You just made me sad.
Oh,
Be
No, but I
sorry.
thought because when that was
No, wait.
we can end
Wait.
the show, but like that years ago, when I think it was years ago, that was originally solicited. Like I'm gonna do the art, the writing. It was supposed to be Jim Lee.
Let me just make sure I'm not talking out my ass, but I'm pretty sure. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, that's right.
I'm pretty sure that it says he's just doing the first issue. One moment while I access the information. Your call is important to me. Batman Europa. Art and cover by Jim Lee. With this premiere issue. 4-issue miniseries event will feature art by top talents over layouts by the incomparable Giuseppe Camuncoli. So, with the first issue penciled and inked by none other than Jim Lee. So, yeah, it's a different artist every issue.
I know how to do the old Pete switch.
Yeah. I mean, I was so excited too.
Well, do you like Giuseppe Camuncoli?
But it's Azzarello.
He does most of the Spider-Man stuff in the slot.
It is Azzarello. I think there's a lead for Maple Barry cover for the first issue.
He's
Okay,
right.
first thing I want to say
on the way home.
is none of those people are Jim Lee.
Oh shit! Or else they'd be named Jim Lee.
But they are going over layouts. There's actually inking.
Well,
no,
no,
layouts are
they're
very-
inking Giuseppe Camuncoli.
Yeah, that's his name.
It's a disaster.
His artwork is nothing like Jim Lee's. Like I like Giuseppe Camuncoli. I actually really like his Spider-Man stuff, but he doesn't look anything like Jim Lee. I get it. You know
Let's
who
just
would have been
let's just
good?
all go kill ourselves.
Jason Fabok.
Oh,
That would
oh
because
man.
Now,
His
I can
Justice
get
League.
behind that.
I like him.
How about Jim Lee?
I can get behind that.
Ugh,
He's nowhere
I
near
just
as
guarantee I won't buy it.
you know.
Is it the hair you guys don't like? The wispy hair?
He loves it.
It's a whole atmosphere he creates. I can't
Gravity does
describe
not
it.
exist in his
Weird.
artwork.
There's
Yeah.
not a lot of backgrounds, I guess.
He doesn't. Yeah, it's all plain
I
color.
do complain about that with John Byrne.
Actually, that's not really true. Do you
Yeah.
ever read read his Transformer books?
Who's that? I'm sorry.
Jay Lee.
It's just fair.
Oh, I didn't know he did Transformers.
There's no.
It's kind of hard to give
Cars
a
and
wispy,
robots.
kind of hard to give a wispy hair dude a Autobot.
You might like the art style at least.
So you're saying he draws cars and houses as well?
I'm saying he draws robots really well.
Is there a house transformer? Because if there isn't, there should be. Like a mobile house transformer.
The Decepticon version should be called Home Rubber.
That's awesome. Well, if you have a great name for a transformer that transforms into a house, you can send it to us at SaturdayMorningComicsPodcast@gmail.com. Like us on Facebook or Facebook.com/Hall of Heroes. Twitter, we're Hall O Heroes. I'm Corn Operator Chris.
I'm the Silver Fox.
Yeah.
And the Toy Master League.
Thanks for listening, and thanks for